Hello guys, Jerry Flynn here. I've decided to make a short video to show you how to use the new relighting feature for rendering with VUE in MicroStation. So with MicroStation Connect Edition Update 15, you'll have the ability to render with VUE, and in your rendering group you'll see kind of a unique icon, a little bit different than the old one. So the one right below it here, that's the view render. And what I want to show in particular is how to use relighting. And so what relighting does, you basically select it. And at the time that you render, it's going to store the information about all the lights and allow you in a post-process to make adjustments to the light intensity and their color. So it's similar to Effects Manager if you've used that in the past. It's different than Effects Manager in that it's done in a single pass, so it's much quicker to compute. So I'm going to choose Path Tracing as my render mode. I'm going to just use, let's say, St. Petersburg, which is the atmosphere that I want to use. This would open the atmosphere editor. Currently, all of the render setups are presets. There's not a separate render settings dialog that will appear in update 16 later next year. So if I choose interior broadcast, and because I'm using path tracing, this will just set the number of samples per pixel. So interior broadcast would be 512, interior final would be 256. So for my light setup, I'm going to choose lights on all. Now prior to rendering, let's just open up the light manager. So if I click on this, open the light manager up, and you'll notice that I've named my lights, really kind of where they go. And the reason for doing that, and by the way, you can actually multi-select and then rename and name lights by using multiple select. The reason to do that is because these are on a switch. I go in, I flip a switch, it's going to affect all of the sconce lights. These guys are all on a switch. This is up in a bathroom, so all of these lights are on a switch. It's also good just to name the lights so you know where they're at, because in the scene they may very well be behind the camera, but are still going to affect the scene in the render. So good idea, name the lights first. So now that I've done this, got relighting enabled, and I'm going to talk about NPR, which is non-photorealistic renders. We'll look at that in another video, but you could in fact enable it and you'd be able to have both relighting and NPR information stored in the history file. So I'm ready to render, set my resolution. I think I'll just go with this, and I'm going to click the render icon, and then I'll be back after the render completes. Okay, so the render has finished here, 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Pretty good render time. If I go to the dialog and I click this little icon right here, this will open up the post-render settings. And in the post-render settings, you can see I have access to things like the denoiser, so I could turn denoiser off, and you see it's very grainy, very noisy. If you have an NVIDIA graphic card in your computer and it is a Maxwell card or later, then you can use the NVIDIA denoiser, and on every machine you should be able to use the Intel denoiser regardless. And then if I go to Relighting tab and open this up, then you will see a long list of all the lights that are in my scene, and you'll see the color of the light and then their intensities. If I sort by name, so if I click right here on name, it'll sort these by their name. So it's interesting to know that the ambient will actually be a multiplier of things like glow. So if you have like the TV set has a glowing material, or even the atmosphere, while there's no glow, it is affected by the amount of ambient. So if I crank up ambient, it's going to be brighter out my window, and it's also going to be brighter on the TV set over here. You can see that that's getting much brighter. So we'll tone that back down. You can click and drag and kind of multi-select things. So if I select these guys here, I could turn them all off in one click. So all these guys are off. If I wanted to turn these two lamps back on, then I can select these two and turn them on. And if I wanted to make them brighter, I can just move the slider while they're both selected. So that's these two lamps right over here. Let's go look at these sconces. So let's take all the sconces. I believe I've got them all. Yep. And right now they're kind of a cool color, but if I wanted to make them a warm color, then we could go here and kind of get a incandescent look. And then you can see that now, instead of being a cool color, they're a warm color. I'll just change them back, put them more up, kind of a blue, cool color. Oh, that's maybe a little too blue. There we go. A little more realistic. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I've got a couple of lamps. There's two lamps. So I've got these two South Bay lamps here. If I turn them off, those are actually the ones upstairs, I believe. I'll turn these on and off. Okay, so there's a lamp over here you can't see, and there's a lamp to the right of my shoulder on this side behind the camera. You can't see those. And that's, again, why I said it's important that you name your lights so you kind of know where they're at in your scene. So if I wanted to add a little more light behind my camera from these lights that I can't really see, you can see that it is, in fact, affecting the scene. So you can go in and adjust values. We can crank the sconce lights up so they're much brighter. We could turn on these two upstairs, turn these guys back on. You see that over here. If I make these much brighter, you'll see a lot of light over here. So you can go in and dial in the lighting after the fact. It's really a beautiful thing. Here, let's make these a warm color as well. So let's go over here to make this a warm color. And that is on the stair, and if I wanted to make these brighter, I could, and you can see that right here. So once you're happy with your lighting, you can right click on any light in the scene and it'll update a relighting setup. And what that does is if I go back here, you see that I have a relighting setup, and all of these lights have been adjusted from what they were before. It changes the color. The stair light is now a warm color, before it was white. So now I can just render again with relighting, and I'll get this look. So that is a quick overview of relighting and how easy it is to use with the VUE render engine in MicroStation Update 15. Enjoy.